All right, Smithfield Town Council special meeting, June 23rd, 2025. Madam Clerk, can you start us with a prayer and the pledge, please?
Thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in a fruitful outcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad?
Here.
Mr. Cristofaro?
Here.
Mrs. O'Hara? Here. Mr. Punchak?
Here.
Ms. Alves?
Here. We don't have open forum on this meeting, huh? Okay. Discussion by council vote or other action on FY25-26 budget. A, continuation of public hearing. Someone like to make a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the 2025-2026 budget.
That's a motion. Is there a second? Any additional comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad?
Yes.
Mr. Cristofaro?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara? Yes. Mr. Punchak?
Yes.
Ms. Alves?
Yes. Anyone like to speak in public hearing? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm Linda Tebow, and I live at 83 St. Paul Street in North Smithfield. I am the chair of the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, and I'm co-chair of the Building Committee, but I'm here tonight as a North Smithfield senior advocate. It was brought to my attention that there were some concerns that with all the new things that are happening, there might be an interruption of services for the seniors in town. And quite frankly, I was kind of happy about that there was concern for the seniors in this town. I came here tonight to hopefully give you some information to kind of allay those fears and to explain some of the things that are happening. First of all, there will be no interruption of services for seniors. John, would you, just like in school, take one and pass it down? Maybe I should have given it to the teacher. You got this? Okay. In that packet, there's a budget that's a work in progress. It's the budget that I had presented to the Budget Committee a few weeks ago. It is a work in progress. And under that budget, $45,000, that accounts for 10 classes at Scouters and also 11 hours of my time. That's to pay all of the instructors that we've had. When we go over the activities, I want to go through this and then I'll go over the activities with you that are going on at Scouters, and you will see there are more classes than that going on, simply because I was able, through grants or through tapping into my sponsors, we were able to provide more than that. I think another concern that people had, and I'm not sure, but I think so, were the meals, the congregate meals. Many of our seniors go down to the Woonsocket Senior Center to have the meal there, and we also have a site, I say we, I'm not with Aging Well any longer, but there also is a site at the Meadows 2 days a week. At the Meadows, they get between 10, 15 people twice a week. And at down at the Senior Center, not that many, but what I want to tell you about is that meal is funded through a federal grant from the Older Americans Act, and it's been around for a long time. It began many, many moons ago. My parents, I think, were in their 60s. I think I was just a child. But anyways, it was intended to prevent isolation amongst the senior population, to get them out of their houses or their apartments and gather together around a table and have a nutritious meal at a very good price. And it's not even a price, it's a $3 donation. And quite frankly, if people don't have that $3 donation, they eat anyways. Who's eligible? Anybody over the age of 60 or have a documented disability is eligible. So North Smithfield residents, quite frankly, can go there no matter what the agreement we may have or may not have with Aging Well. That will continue. And I've had people ask me if we could have a meal at Scouters Hall maybe a couple of times a week. And I've already started working on that. And one of the reasons, that's one of the reasons when we had that grant, when I was working with Bobby Monaghan, who has done a tremendous job, by the way, we bought a heating unit so that we could have meals there. Because the kitchen is less than desirable for such a plan. But if we have a really good heating unit, when the meals are brought in and we can temp them, we could keep them at the temp that's required by the Department of Health, and we could be able to do that. And I did start some talks for that to happen. There is an interest. I was thinking maybe on Mondays and Thursdays because we have a lot of classes in the morning, those mornings, and we'd have a good participation. The other thing about these meals, as with any federal grant, if you've worked with a grant, you know this. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers. So what happens is the people that have the grant are given money contingent upon how many people they have, how many people they serve. So it behooves them to have people coming from Burrillville and Gloucester and Lincoln and all over to have a meal there because it boosts up their numbers. So any questions on that? We good? Okay. Another question we had, I had a call, I think it was last week, the end of last week, from Joanne at the town clerk's office, that she had a call. One of North Smithfield residents was asking about the farmers market vouchers. And tell you what that is. That's another grant that was intended to help the farmers, but the seniors benefit from it. And every year around June-ish, they come out. And anybody, it's depending on your finances, but most people that are in senior housing qualify. Or if people are on EBT, food stamps, they automatically qualify. So we had a call, and I said I took the number and I called, and I instructed the person, call down to the Woonsocket Senior Center and ask about these vouchers, because Woonsocket gets them for Woonsocket and North Smithfield, because we don't have a senior center. I'm working on that. But anyways, and they were told that they were keeping them for Woonsocket residences, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. So I started investigating. I put a call down there, and I also talked with the people at OHA, that's the Office of Healthy Aging. I talked to Anna there, and so she said, I'll investigate this, Linda, and I'll get back to you. So she did, and apparently it was a mistake. It wasn't a deliberate thing. But however, while I had her on the phone, I said, well, now next year, I want to make sure that North Smithfield gets our own supply of vouchers, so we won't have to go through that. So that service won't end. And I just wanted to let you know, I've been the senior advocate. I've been that since, I think, 2009. Everybody knows how to reach me. All they have to do, I walk around, my phone is my office because I don't have a place, but that's okay. One other thing, information specialist, that's another service that is given, that we offer for seniors. What's an information specialist? Well, they're the people that help seniors navigate that whole Medicare process when they're first getting on Medicare, or even every year under open enrollment. Do they want to keep the plan they have, or do they want another one? And I already have someone that's willing, that's going to take that position, volunteer, next year. He sits on a senior advisory committee, and so he will be here. So you can see there's not a lot of services that are going to go amiss here. One other thing, I think there was a question about that My Senior Center program. So that, when I tell you about grants, and it's all about numbers, well, that's why you need the My Senior Center program, because it helps to tally people that come in and use all the programs. Right now, I'm using paper. They come in, they sign the waiver and such, and paper gets lost. But that's the purpose of that. And it's a very valuable tool. You can tell where they're from, how many people, such and such. So that's a good purchase. So with that in mind, any questions about services that far? Do you want to take a look at, if you want to look, we can go over the, what we're offering at.
I think, Linda, the only question that I have is for the meals that are funded. I realize that it's through a federal grant. Do they require a donation?
That's what I said. It's a $3 donation.
Okay, but nothing from the town?
No.
Okay.
No. What the town has always done, because, you know, I've been there at Aging Well since 2009, and so the town has always made a donation because all they had was the grants and the donations from the communities we serve. They only have one grant left, but Burrillville, Lincoln, all the places that service would give a donation.
Okay.
A donation, not a, you know, you don't have to. It's not a contract or anything. But as far as the meals themselves, the person that goes does not offers a $3 donation. If they don't have the money, they get one anyways. And that's what that grant does. It subsidizes the agencies that offer the meal.
Okay.
It helps to defray the cost. And I know that in the past, when we gave a donation, it was to help defray the cost of North Smithfield residents, and that's entirely what it was.
And do you know historically what that donation has been from North Smithfield?
Well, in the past, it's you know, I don't know how, I can't remember way back when, but most recently it's been like $5,000 a year.
Okay.
Give or take.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think, and you know, probably when things weren't as expensive, was probably, I don't know, $250, $2,500. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, are we good with that? I just want to quickly go over the activity, and I will tell you, since, you know, I was doing all this work here in North Smithfield and doing work in Woonsocket, so I was kind of felt like Make-A-Wish, you know, torn between two places. Since April 22nd, I've been only devoting my attention here to North Smithfield, and pro bono. It wasn't costing you anything, so so that. But if you want to look at the schedule, we're pretty jam-packed with activities, and we're going to increase that. So like on Mondays, we have Zumba Gold, Sit Fit and Be Strong, and Mat Yoga. Mr. Beauregard has come to both of the Zumba Gold and the Sit Fit. He did all right. He did all right. He was able to keep up pretty good. Tuesday is a pretty empty day in the morning, but I'm working on that. Mindful meditation. We started that program during COVID. We did a Zoom class because there were so many seniors suffering from isolation. Gloucester had a couple of suicides because of it. On Wednesday, we had a balanced class, which was so important for seniors, but for everyone, really important. And we were fortunate that was sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island. Jazzy Seniors was sponsored by another grant. Thursdays, we have Zumba Gold, Get Moving, weight training for seniors. That also was sponsored by a grant. Mat Pilates, and we have the Northern Rhode Island Quilters there. They're in the smaller room with the door closed, and so we can do two things at once. Fridays, we have line dancing, yoga Pilates, and Follies dancing. Some of the presentations at Scouters, which were sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield, were Brain Power, keeping your brain sharp as you age. That was useful for everybody, because we're all getting older. We had Cooking with Chef. That was sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And we had a very successful AAA driver course and lunch sponsored by a grant, but it was held here in the council chambers because we don't have Wi-Fi at Scouters yet. That was really good because when you take that course, you get a nice discount on your insurance. So we'll probably do that one yearly. Future plans, we're going to have a bar fitness class, not this kind of bar, but like a ballet bar. Cheer Zumba, country line dancing. I was working with somebody that her thesis was on the relationship of music and dance and its effect on brain power, on your brain as we age. So I thought that might be a good person to bring in, and let's do something. As I said, we're going to have the information specialist. We're going to continue the Blue Cross Blue Shield sponsors programs and classes. We're going to offer card leagues. I had a call that somebody wanted to start a Mahjong league, and I don't know if that's how you spell it, but anyways, and I said, if you know how to do it, you can come. But then I found out Lincoln has one, And so she's going to go there, but she promises to try to get people back with us, and maybe even a cribbage league. We'll bring URI pharmacy, nutrition, and the Rhode Island College senior nursing students. We will definitely work with the Office of Healthy Aging and events. We're going to have a National Senior Center Month celebration at the Beef Barn again, Veterans Appreciation Dinner and USO show, place to be determined. We'll have a Flag Day ceremony, and that's intergenerational. We'll be having the scouts, and hopefully I can talk to the people at the school committee and get us a class that can have to get on a bus, but come and join us, and holiday events. And that's it. So we're going to be busy. Any other questions? And I think I've taken up enough of your time.
Thank you.
All set?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak during the public hearing?
Mike Clifford, 489 Black Plain Road. I've been hearing the discussions about the senior center program beginning in this town this coming fiscal year since I went to the budget committee meeting one night and heard the presentation of the budget and heard Mrs. Tebow come in and tell everybody that this was being approved and we were going to have this in his internal town event now rather than going through one socket. And I thought, when did that happen? How did that happen? It comes out of nowhere. And then she started to say that she didn't like the management of Woonsocket any longer. She didn't want to work for him, so she was going to retire early. That's what's motivating this whole thing. And I have a problem with the process that we're following here, because you know I'm a stickler on process. And this process is bouncing all over the wall. I read that description of the budget that Mr. Davis had put in the paper, in his article. In $1,800 budget, $1,800 item ended up costing what? $8,000 plus annual fees. So there's been no thought put into this thing whatsoever. You can rattle off a list of 50 activities, but does that mean you're going to be able to have them all? Does that mean you're going to have enrollment for them? You know, and like everything else, like, you know, if you run a field trip for the kids as a teacher, the more kids that participate, the lower the cost. And that's the same thing here. So without having a budget in front of you and projected enrollments and actual classes established and all the rest of the stuff, and not even knowing if this is an LLC or a nonprofit, it's been back and forth. One week it's a nonprofit, the next week it's an LLC. I have a real problem with the fact that we are going out for a contract for an LLC with no bidding process whatsoever. No bidding. I want to know, I would like you to get a written statement, because the attorney's opinions about legal points are supposed to, by town charter, be put in writing. So I really wish you would ask that he put in writing a statement saying that there is no problem with not going out to bid, with awarding this bid to an LLC. There is no liability to the town for liability insurance, payroll taxes, nothing else. I don't know how this is going to work, because I don't know what's involved in it, but it sounds like the most seat-of-the-pants operation I've ever met in my life. And I don't know why we're doing it, because we never talked about it until Linda didn't like our bosses. And nice that we all want to help Linda, but that's not what should motivate this. The original plan was it was going to transfer to the new senior center when the new senior center was built. And now we're modifying everything. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And there will be I think that, you know, I definitely would hope that you ask for a legal opinion in writing from the attorney regarding those points, because I think it is going to become an issue. So, and particularly I'm concerned about the insurance, because it's nice to say, you know, the LLC is running this program, but if somebody breaks their back in the program, are we going to get sued because we authorized this thing to happen? Is it the fact that we didn't even go out to bid for it, the fact that we didn't, you know, require or even request for proposals? Is that going to, are we going to be blamed for assigning someone in charge of this who didn't have the right criteria or something? I don't know, but I'm worried about all those things because of the way we're doing it, because we're not sticking with the charter. And by the way, I think the bidding, there is a section of the charter that addresses bidding. And I want to know from the attorney, are we in compliance with that without even going out to competitive bidding for these services? I've never seen anything like this one happen before. So that's the first point. The second point is regarding the grant writer. Do we even know how much she's going to charge yet? Because that's something else that's popped up. And, you know, you approved a motion to authorize him to negotiate downward. You approved a budget of like $74,000. What are you hiring her at now? Do you know? Can we know what that budget line item's
Do you
gonna
want
be?
me to respond?
Sure.
We don't have it under contract.
You know, what?
We don't have her under contract at this point in time.
Well, what is her fee gonna be?
We haven't finalized that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've been checking around, and I'm sure you're aware of it, because every time I send an APRA request to another community, it filters back to this community because they know what I'm looking for. But I'm ashamed that you guys, when you made that choice, you heard, oh, she's great, and all this other stuff, and she might be great. But you didn't do any background, or no, I didn't see any due diligence of how much is she charging in other communities, and, you know, are we paying more than we should for the size of our communities? You didn't ask for any hard statistics. You quoted from a newspaper article, and that was it. And by the way, Smithfield is paying, they have been since 2022 paying $4,000 a month for the services. And now they've raised it to $4,800 a month, which is $57,600. And you authorized to enter into agreement for up to $74,000. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I haven't gotten many of them back yet because, strangely enough, even though I've asked for vendor files, vendor history reports, which I've asked for numerous times for other types of services and stuff, I usually get them within a day or two from the community I ask them for under the APRA law, because it's just a push of a button. There's the vendor history. These people are asking for extensions on the deadline because they have to create the vendor history. No. The finance office has to push a button on a computer, vendor history, put it in the number, and there it is. So, you know, there's obviously, I get the sense that nobody wants us to really know what the other communities are really doing. And some of the communities who have a grant writer and have her as a grant writer also use their own people internally to write the grants as well. So she does some of them, but not all of them. Again, just to, you know, we met, unfortunately, someone met her, liked her, and that's it. Now we're running with a, this, you know, crazy method. But anyway, and I still say, if your objective, which you said at the time, was all of her contacts, I don't think under this current federal government, she might not have the right people to contact. And as I said in the past too, if the representatives and congressmen aren't representing us in our grant applications, then the administrator should be picking up the phone and saying, I'm not going to pick your person to enter this information. You should be providing this service to anybody we have looking for our grants. If that was a problem in the past, that's how it should have been handled. So that's the grant writer.
Is that a budget item? That's not a budget item tonight, is it? I mean, we're not discussing
Yeah,
her.
it was in the budget.
But I mean, we're not discussing her,
No, there was a number down there, but you don't know what it's gonna be because the budget committee was told one number and then they read in the paper a different number. So I don't know what you do.
Okay.
I wondered if you were gonna put in the number because he was gonna negotiate the salary. Also, the last item is the tax levy. Rebecca asked a question at the last meeting, and she asked if she could have a breakdown of where the revenue was coming from, because we have tax revenue from residential property, frozen property, commercial property, tangible property, all different classifications. And I started looking at the numbers that we had presented when the budget was proposed by the administrator. And I compared the numbers, and I saw that, for instance, basically, if you look at this, you're increasing the operating budget, I'm sorry, I don't have that paper in front of me, by like 700 and some odd thousand this year. Your tangible tax revenue, because National Grid put online a $9 million project, your tangible tax revenue went up by $383,730 this year, okay? The thing with that is, so we used that money plus whatever extra money we need to get to 700 and whatever thousand, it came out to be on your budget sheet in front of you, from the taxpayers, from the residential payers, because none of the commercial payers, it's about like a wash. The same thing it was last year is about the same thing we're getting this year. Frozen went up a little, but because of the re-eval. But the point is, if we didn't have that 384,000 new revenue this year from National Grid, this whole thing would have fallen on the taxpayers. The whole boat for the 784,000 increase. So, and this is a year when I remind you, You gave nothing, you have to give nothing to the school department because they got 1.5 million from the state. In a normal year, we don't go over like 2.5%. When you're giving to the school department, when you're doing everything else under the sun, our levy doesn't go over. So this, on the surface, is gonna look to some people like a really conservative, low budget. But when you factor in that it includes nothing for the school department, because we were blessed this year with that windfall of 1.5 million or whatever it was, and the fact that National Grid put a project online for that kind of revenue falling in this year, next year, you're gonna have to increase the taxes on us if the commercial properties don't, if we don't have more tangible revenue coming in from National Grid, you're gonna have to increase the residential more than you did this year, because you're gonna have to make up the, now you've established this is the amount you need to operate this year's budget, $784,000 from taxes. Now it's being split between tangibles and residential. Next year, if they don't have a new item coming on, it's gonna be all on us. And then you're gonna factor in the school department increase, because they're not gonna give you 1.5 million increases every single year, I'll tell you that right now. And you're gonna have to worry about the depreciation on the tangibles. So, I think you need to be aware of that, and I think you need to see it. And I'm very saddened that this recently, in the past, in the teens, the 2012 to 2020, or 2017, I guess it would have been, we always had, the legal advertisement always was very extensive, and it showed the different types of revenues from each revenue source. Showed how much in residential, so you could compare it and say, oh, that went up, how much in commercial, how much in tangible. We don't put that part in anymore. This is what I asked from the tax assessor. I asked her if she could give me this worksheet that she created when they calculated the tax rolls. But this stuff normally would have been in the ad. And if it wasn't in the ad, I would suggest if you try and cut down on advertising, fine. Let's start by putting it in one paper, because that's all you're required to do. We don't need to put it in 4. I've been at a meeting where I heard a council person say, oh, we need, so notice one of the reporters from the call in the audience that night, you had made a motion to put the ad in the Valley Breeze and the NRI Now, and then he spotted the reporter from the call and said, oh, and the call, of course, didn't mean to, not realize you, Joe. Not keep the call, you have to keep the press on your side or something, I don't know. It only requires one, so let's stop picking favorites, let's put it in a, one rotation system for the advertising, if that's why you want to save money. But if this isn't even part of the legal ad, I think it should be posted on the website with the budgets in a clear way where everybody can access it. And, let me see. I think that may be it. Yeah, oh, well, no, the only other thing I'm going to say is, as I said last year, the police budget is going to be underfunded because you're making assumptions and you have not included all the, I don't believe, reflected the overtime cost to be accurate. I said it last year and they went over what you budgeted. And I'm saying it again, I'll go on record, no problem. You're going to exceed what you're presently budgeting for the overtime. Thank you.
Mike, one question. Where did you get that $787,000 that you were just mentioning?
Well, on the budget that Tony gave us, it said the first line, the handout.
It's behind you. You're referring to the budget committee proposal?
Right.
Okay.
An increase of, wait a minute. Yeah, an increase of 700. What is this? What is this? Yeah, the budget committee proposal. I don't know why those numbers are filled in on that one. That's from, 700 and whatever it
Okay.
is. I can't read it. 86.
Okay. Thank you.
And so half of that, basically, almost, is coming from tangible.
Anyone else like to speak during the public hearing? Anyone else?
Mike Davis, 151 Douglas Pike. Are there extra copies of the budget of this version or no? No, okay. So I was just looking at the budget and looking at the town council side. The numbers are the same for a lot of them, like prior year tax revenue, 450,000, but on between the budget committee and the town council, the percent change is huge. Like it's saying 50,000 increase is a 12.5% change, but a 50,000. But then the 450,000 is showing a $50,000 decrease on so the budget. Those numbers aren't right. Yeah, so like all the cells are not lined up. So
council budget,
Can you go?
The 450s are the same on the
yeah,
second
so,
line.
so he's absolutely right. If you look at the prior year tax, first of all, the fiscal year for the town council should match the budget committee pending any changes that have already been made and/or are made tonight. So I don't know why they would drastically differ. And then also too, why would we have a minus 50,000? I think that's something, and any of the revenue for the prior year or south of that, the next line, stabilization agreements or the penalties. Wherever there's a variance, it should be explained tonight where the variance came from between the budget committee and the town council
Well, it
recommendation.
looks like it's going from fiscal year, the 50,000 looks like it's from fiscal year 25 to budget committee, right?
Potentially. I know when we were working with this sheet, there's been formula errors. I know last year there was formula errors. I would just double check, to Mike's point, to make sure that the numbers you're working with are accurate.
The numbers are accurate, the net change variances are the only thing that 2021 for. All the numbers are accurate, any of the changes are reflected in green, and those will be explained as we go through the budget. So, but yes, the net change column is pulling from 2024 there.
So the net change, column U and V are both wrong, right?
What's that?
Columns U and V are wrong?
U and V, no.
Yeah. Because your column U says the taxes are going up by $1.5 million.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, he's right.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah,
than
you're
what's
right,
on
you're
the
right,
paper.
yeah.
So that's why I was looking for a copy of
It's
this.
not even the same thing we're looking at.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask a stupid question, and
Sure.
I'm going to blame this on this being my first time. Why do we have town council numbers populated if we haven't discussed as a town council what our decision is?
It's just so you guys can see your own column, and because there's variances between once the budget committee sets their numbers and today, there's always some type of small changes like the ones you see highlighted in green throughout the budget.
Aren't they usually empty?
I would prefer not looking at those numbers this evening and focusing on what we've been presented and then having conversations on department administrator and budget committee. But again, this is my first time, so I'm going to defer to the majority and precedent here, but I think those numbers are confusing.
A lot of it's also formulas, so they will populate from another spreadsheet to things that are percentages, like our MERS, the pension, the FICA, like all that kind of stuff is already populated in another sheet. And for ease of us not being here extra hours and us manually typing it in the whole time, we have it already set up, just to help save time.
So I was just asked before
Yeah,
we
it's
go
just the
forward.
revenue it's pulling from column 2024. I just verified that the expense side is correct. So it's just the revenue side that, the comparison from prior year that's pulling from.
So I just asked that it gets fixed for the public to see before you guys.
I can
go.
reprint it and disseminate it out, yep.
Okay, thank you.
So, Tony, can I just ask a point of clarification? So the fiscal revenues are as of 4/30, but the expenses are as of 5/31?
No, they're 4:30. I went to go into, no, they're at 4:30. I went to go in to update them, and they hadn't been fully reconciled yet, so I just kept them at everything platform as of 4:30. Because we are reconciled up to them.
Because what?
We're reconciled up to 4:30. We're almost done with May, so.
So, I'm just gonna ask the question, because we've been talking about numbers and when you'd be complete in reconciling, and you said within 2 weeks, like a couple of weeks ago, you'd be all set, so I'm just concerned doing a budget as of 4/30 when we're at the end of June.
Before the end of the fiscal year, we'll be done. We have, you can answer it if you want.
As of today, we know what makes everything reconciled, but there's a couple of entries that need to be made to finalize May, but we know everything. They all tie.
So again, I'm just questioning because what we're presenting says 5/31, but now you're telling me it's 4/30. Okay.
So then, this $12 million debt has been spent in May and June potentially? Like.
Well, we
that's a-
don't know. That's what I'm saying, like, that's why we
$12 million.
kept asking how far the reconciliations were back, and you kept saying you're gonna be done in a few weeks, and now we're at budget time, and the date's not even accurate. I just have doubts.
The budget's, it's not done for the budget, but it will be done, it's being done before end of fiscal year.
I have a problem with the bottom line, 53 million budget for 2025, and now, end of April, only 41 million was spent, so there's a $12 million difference over 2 months potentially, like, just seems like could be a huge discrepancy there. If 2023 was 48 million, 2024 was 50 million, 51 million, we'll call it, and we're talking about 55 million. The bottom line. Page 6, total expenditures. Right, so 2025, $12 million difference right now. And if you look at 2024, 51 million was, actual. 48 million was actual in 2023, and we're talking about a $55.5 million budget. So what, we're, best case scenario, $4 million, $5 million more than 2024. We don't know about 2025. Could be 10 million, who knows? Have we approved $12 million worth of bills in the past, 2 months? I don't think so. I can almost guarantee we got it.
No,
I feel like we're more like 4 million tops.
that's why I'm concerned about. So how do we know that so where are we ending in 25, I guess?
In terms of revenue versus expenses,
Yeah, like where are our expenses as of 25? How are we gonna finish 25?
in a net positive, I can run a trial balance right now and tell you that it'll,
But it's only up till April 30th.
all the expenses are in, they're just not reconciled past, we're almost done with May. We're reconciled up to April 30th.
So are we ahead 12 million?
I can pull.
Are we able to have constructive dialogue tonight if we don't have updated numbers?
If we're talking $12 million,
No, I know.
that's significant. We probably, I don't think it's 12 million, but even if it's 9 million, how do we go up 5 million?
Douglas Oja, 1984, Chair of the Budget Committee. I do want to kind of just reiterate the point the President made. We asked, and people on the Budget Committee can attest, we asked for, where are we going to be trending? We were told that we weren't fully reconciled, but that by the time the budget was presented, we would be reconciled. I know in the past, I've spoken about reconciliations. I think it's a huge risk to the town that we're not being reconciled. I know we've heard of software being a reason why in the past and currently. You could have all the software in the world, it's a process issue. So I think that issue needs to be resolved so that when it does come in front of you guys are able to make a better informed decision. And however the Budget Committee can help, I'm more than willing to help in that regard. So
Well, you sat on the council last year, and we had the same issue at the 12th hour,
I
so.
I do remember, yes.
I thought the revenues looked good, but I
Yeah.
wasn't realizing that we're not up to 531.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike wants to talk again.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair? Oh,
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, Mike Clifford, 489 Black Plain Road. This topic that just came up made me remember, I looked down at my paper and I saw the word raisins, and I said, why did I write
I'm sorry, there's what?
I saw the word raisins on my note sheet, saying, why did I write raisins? And I meant to discuss the raises.
Oh, raises.
So now that they brought it up and illustrated my point, I'm definitely back here to talk about the raises. 9% raises for some of the department heads is absolutely ludicrous. And I like the suggestion that was made last week at the last committee meeting. I don't think I was here, but I watch you on TV all the time if I'm not here. And it was suggested that you just do the union raises. And if you need to raise the pay at any point during the year because you have to replace the person, you can always touch your general fund, your fund balance for any difference that you're short if you don't have it within your own operating budget. Secondly, when I heard the discussion about you're going to do a study and then you'd like to find out what other towns are paying and what the duties are and all that. I think the key thing there is how many years of experience in the field on the job. Because I think this town should be paying someone who has 10 years as a town finance director, at least $150,000, okay? But I don't believe we should be paying 108, 110, 109, whatever, to someone who has no background at all.
Excuse me, can we not get personal? Can we
No,
just
I
stick
have
to
to
the?
say it, Kim, and I can say
No,
it.
can we please stick to the budget?
I am. I don't approve raises of 9% for people.
Okay,
When
we
we come to the
understand that.
meetings, and there's been one problem after another with all these numbers, every single meeting for the last year and a half, 2 years. And it's ridiculous. It's
Okay,
absolutely
Mike,
ridiculous.
we're trying to get an answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would suggest to you, you can recess the meeting tonight until you have the exact formula. I usually scrutinize this thing top to bottom. I didn't have the energy to do it this year, because when I saw the 9% raises, I said, forget it, I'm not even gonna look at it. It's gonna
Thank
be a
you.
nightmare.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm just going to make a suggestion. I talked to the Finance Committee. I mean, the council may want to focus on this year's budget as far as numbers. With regard to reconciliation of last year's budget, we're probably going to be here tomorrow night. So before you pass the budget, if you have concerns, that information will be generated. But really, it's how much did you budget last year versus how much you're going to budget this year.
But
It's really-
there's a big discrepancy, though.
No, not compared to what you budgeted. You're speaking about, you're trying to determine what the difference in what real-time spending is, but you budgeted, according to this, you budgeted $53 million last year, and the proposed budget this year is about $55 million.
Right.
Again, that's a rough number. I'm not doing 55,800,000, I'm just saying approximately. To me, the numbers, the 2026 budget is what this meeting's about, not reconciliation 25.
But how do we go forward when we're comparing against 41 million?
You compare it against 53 million. It's compared about what you budgeted last year.
But then we have no idea if we've saved money in any line items, because.
Well, that's different.
Right,
That'll be a discussion tomorrow, right?
So we're gonna go through there's no way it's gonna get reconciled by tomorrow.
Well, they could at least, my understanding is they would be able to straighten out the discrepancy between 53 million and 41 million.
I understand that, but I think every meeting we've talked about this.
Different question. I was just suggesting a path forward.
Just want to make one comment, just by looking at some of the numbers real quick. If you're looking at the 41 million, it's short 2 months' worth of the school appropriation, which is 1.8 each month. It's missing 1.1 million of debt service payments that are due at the end of the fiscal year. And we have 2 months' worth of payroll missing, because I know I reconciled the payroll through
2 months?
May. It's, all the entries are ready. They were, at the end of the day today, they just had to be imported and we got an error message. So we were gonna finish that up tomorrow morning. But they're reconciled, tied to the bank, tied to the system. They're ready to go. They just have to be imported. So I'm just saying that's 2.9 million plus the payroll right there, and that's just me looking at the last couple of departments on the report.
So what's your total number now, when you have all that added?
So when we ran the report as of right now in the system, it was 46 million, plus if you, 46 million. So you would have to add 1.8 million for June's school appropriation, 1.1 million in debt service, plus the 2 months of payroll. I'm just saying, it's a lot closer than this particular report run as of April looks.
But even if you added 6 million to that, you still have an $8 million difference that we're at, that we're budgeting.
I mean, it's.
I understand what you're saying, David, but $8 million just because of, last year's budget, that doesn't make sense to me. I wouldn't have a job if I was trying to budget projects like that. It's just like, but.
The actual number in our GL system as of today is 46 million spent. And there's another 2.9 between the town appropriation and the debt service. Plus, like I said, the 2 months of payroll. So it's, that's almost 50 million spent.
What's the council's thought about proceeding tonight, or, we're running out of time, but.
Yeah, what are our options?
If you're naming off those amounts right now, how long would it take you to update everything? If you're naming off everything that needs to be updated, how long would it take you to update?
Yeah, so the 1.8 million for the school and the debt service, those get entered by payables when we're generating the report for the payment of bills. So those wouldn't be posted.
Can you give us, get us posted through the end of May and then give us what your commitments are? Even if it's like a sidebar, we've got these 2 payments for the school debt service is gonna be 2 points, so at least it gets us like, maybe 90% of the way there?
By when? By tomorrow?
By tomorrow.
That's the question back to you.
Is that what you're expecting?
Well, we've been asking this question, and I just don't know why now, again, at the 12th hour, that we just don't have updates, because you've been reassuring us that it was gonna be done, and now we're back here again this year, not knowing what our actual numbers are.
I can update the numbers as of 5:30 by tomorrow, but they're not gonna be fully, again, we know what ties 5:30 out, but it's not gonna be fully reconciled then, by the end of day tomorrow.
May I ask a question? The budget committee managed to, you're the expert in this
Well,
field.
no,
the-
but Doug even said that
Right, but if
they
the
didn't.
budget committee managed to come up with a budget, and the administrator came up with a budget, can't we go forward and then reconcile all that afterwards?
Well, I'm not comfortable doing a budget for the town that we don't even have actual numbers that we can say are actual. So if you feel comfortable with that, that's your prerogative, but I don't feel comfortable approving a budget that we are going on estimates.
No, I'm not saying I feel, I'm legitimately asking a question, because I don't know, because it's not my area of expertise. But if the budget committee managed to come up with a budget and the administrator came up with a budget, why wasn't this?
Those are recommendations, though, like, this is the final
Yeah.
authority.
Exactly. The budget committee is advisory, right? You guys ultimately control the money. So by charter, we have to present a budget to you. We may not disagree, we may disagree with what's in the budget. I would totally agree with the conversation that if you're over by millions of dollars, it should be looked at into why we're over millions of dollars. That's excess spending that shouldn't be happening. And ultimately, you know, we passed that along, and I'm telling you right now that if we had more time, we would have spent that time diving into it, but the charter bounds us to present. So if we want to do that type of analysis, we should probably change the budget schedule, but that's the reason why, John, is we had to present the budget, but it's clear that there's still areas to investigate and should be investigated before the budget is finalized.
I mean, if we at least had the right date on the column, we could have raised the question prior, but. How much are the payrolls? How much is estimated monthly payroll, since we have two? Well, you have, so when you say two, you mean are you still in April, or are you in May and June? Like, where are you?
May and June are the entries that need to be posted. They are roughly 250,000 apiece.
And there's two in each month?
Yes. Those are the only two things that are not posted in May are two payrolls. Everything else is posted for the entire month.
Of May?
Yes, and I know that with those two payrolls that are missing, that we are reconciled. So those are the only two entries that are missing for May.
Can I ask another
Mhm.
stupid question, maybe?
It's not
So
stupid.
essentially, you're saying that if predominantly what needs to be reconciled are salaries, payroll, school appropriation, there was one other one.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm reconciled through May with two missing payroll entries, and that's it. I was just trying with the other figures I was presenting, I was trying to show that the 41 million was as of April 30th. A lot of big numbers are since going to be happening in June.
Right.
I was just trying to say that, like, from the 41 million till now, a lot has changed because debt service, I mean, we can pay 1.8 million in a single month because we only pay it once a year. So that I was trying to explain how.
No, I'm mostly following, but what
Yep.
I'm saying is, as I'm looking at the expense budget summary, and we obviously see disparity between adopted and actual, are you saying that based on what you essentially have in the pipeline for reconciliation, that all of this will be balanced out so we can make appropriate determinations on?
I don't fully understand your question.
So like, as I'm looking at the expense budget right now, I'm looking specifically at municipal court, right? The adopted budget in 2025, the adopted budget in 2025 was $53,000 with change. The actual amount as of 4/30 was $28,553. So are you saying that after your reconciliation is completed, that we'll have a better understanding of how the expenses factor out?
All I'm saying is, like, right now you have 10 months out of 12. As of tomorrow, you could have 11 months out of 12, but we've never provided that much data in the past on this sheet for actual expenditures.
It's been at least through May.
I remember us doing 3 quarters, and we've more recently been improving it to have more months. It used to be we would update it by the quarter, and the 4th quarter can't be finished before we adopt the budget.
Last year we presented that. And the prior year was even further beyond that.
I can't hear you, what'd you say?
I said last year we provided up to April, and then even the year before that, it was up until March. So we're trying to improve with getting more and more up-to-date actuals as close to the budget adoption as possible. I've given 10 months, and we're a couple days beyond getting your 11th month.
I honestly don't ever remember giving through May 30th, 31st on these reports. I don't.
Is it possible, again, just a question, I mean, we could have tomorrow through May, which gives us 1 month. is it possible, although we can't close out June that quick, can we at least forecast, based upon what we know what's gonna happen in June, to at least give a perspective as to what the council's looking at?
We can
put-
try, but
can
we
put
don't
in-
have all of the data.
I understand that.
Like, we have a lot of missing invoices that will trickle in the next 2 months.
Yeah, we have a
Because
13th
we,
period.
yeah,
that
we
put
use
in.
a 13th period to pay bills.
We could be within $1 million,
Yeah.
$2 million, not potentially.
I don't expect it to be to the penny, but it could be close enough to give us an order of magnitude, that at least that'll give the council more comfort. It's just a
I mean, we
guess.
can try. We've never,
Past, you know, the past, whatever, 4 years we have here, 46 million in 2022, 48 million in 2023, 51 million in 2024.
those are audited numbers that are completed, like,
Safe to say, we're gonna be probably close to that 50, maybe $51 million. So we're still talking $4 million from where, you know, we could have landed. Like, the numbers are not drastically different. They're all within $1 million for over 4 years. Why we're going up to 55 million, I would like to have a better understanding of. That's just me.
Doug, as the Budget Committee chairperson, how comfortable are you? I mean, I know you're advisory, but, and you only had so much time, but with the Budget Committee's numbers, I mean, obviously, you,
I feel confident in the budget committee's numbers, but again, those numbers are based on, you know, obviously what was presented to the solicitor's point, what was presented for this year. Whether they're tied to last year and, you know, the validity of, you know, the true increase. You know, I would say if we're not sure of where we are at this point in time, it may be good to pause and find out where we are in the current fiscal year to make sure those numbers, I mean, all we did is we evaluated very detailedly, you know, where was the items coming from? You know, I think the DPW even had like a line item for like accurate weather. We questioned everything. So I know the budget committee did its homework and validated all the numbers on that end. Whether that's stuff we need to spend on or want to spend on or should spend on, that's ultimately your guys' decision. But I would say it shouldn't be out of the realm to have 11 months with a projection. There should always be that case where we are. So if we're unsure of the total revenue, it doesn't really make sense to set the expense budget unless you're just going to start slashing and say it doesn't really matter at that point because you'll have so little expense, you can cover the revenue. That was a lot of chatter. So if you're not sure of the revenue, it doesn't really make sense to set the budget because it's all tied to that.
The revenue is accurate, it's the net change and the net percent change that we're quoting on.
can you speak in the mic, please?
Yeah, the budget numbers, the budget column on the revenue is accurate and reflects almost exactly what the budget committee had put in. It's just that, again, the net change and the net percent change that was pulling from a prior year. It's just a formulaic issue. That was it.
So candidly, Council President, if this came from the budget committee, we would ask for the sheet to be updated and redone before we did anything.
I can pull this up and make this live right now on my computer.
And it probably should be live, just
What were
everyone at home.
the debt service numbers that were quoted earlier?
So
2 million,
or
1.8 million,
1.8
something like
and
that.
one.
1.1 million.
1.1 total?
Yeah, for the rest of the year, yeah.
And then the school payment, did you say 1.8?
Yep.
So it's only 4 million on top of the 40, so it brings us to 50.
Just look at what the numbers would be.
What's that?
Debt service is 2.7 now,
Right, but that still only brings us to 50.
plus the 1.1.
No. right, again, I'm gonna ask the council what they're thinking about moving forward, because I'm ready to make a motion that we table till tomorrow.
Personally, I'd like to be closer, but
I mean, personally, I would too, but
I
Is
don't know the
do-
ramifications going forward.
and can we say with 100% certainty that we will have all of the numbers ready for tomorrow's meeting?
I mean,
I
we
mean-
can have numbers as of 5:30 tomorrow. I just don't, I personally am confused, because I don't remember doing this in the past, and we're over 50 million spent actual this year. So that's only, I mean, we're
So
talking
where are
a
you-
3 million variance. I know it's not on your report,
Mhm.
but based on the report we just ran and what we know are big missing items, we're over 50 million spent.
Yeah, we can get to the 50 also, but
I just feel like that's only 3 million short of the budget at this point. And we still have invoices trickling, I mean,
no,
the
53.
year's not over. We still have another week to go. We still have another month worth where invoices trickle in. I mean, I see $175,000 worth of unspent capital in this budget right now.
So you think
I don't
that-
understand, I guess, what you're looking for. I don't think the numbers as of 5/31 are gonna show anything different than what I'm saying right now.
And then you think that so for the month of June, that 3 million,
I'm not saying we're gonna spend the full 3 million. We usually come in a little under. I can't, I don't know what every single department spent and which invoices have come in and which haven't.
okay. But you're saying that we'll be relatively close to what our adopted budget was for 2025. But I think the big question here is, if we don't have those actuals, and especially that we're seeing for department estimates, a net change of $4 million, how are we going to justify the $4 million if we don't understand what we actually spent in 2025? So you're saying that we're going to be close to 52 million, but then we need to understand what's informing the big ticket items, at least, I don't want to speak for everybody, I'm going to speak for myself. I would like to understand the big ticket items that are informing the net change of 4.3 from a department perspective, 2.8 from an administrative proposal, and then 2.6 for a budget committee perspective. And I think as we go line by line, department by department, and better understand, you know, the numbers, we could better understand the big ticket items, but it's just hard to say, okay, we're gonna sit here and discuss a $4.3 million net change when we don't even know what the adopted budget or the actual amount was. Rather, we know what the adopted budget, we don't know the actual will be for 2025. Can you understand that logic?
I do understand the logic. We've never provided projected information for the budget adoption before. That's where I'm lacking like an understanding of what is exactly being expected of us. I can give you as of 5/31, as of tomorrow, once we import a couple of journal entries, but the rest are, I just don't know what I'm really being asked for. We can kind of, am I supposed to add up all of the invoices that are sitting in payables and are floating around all the departments, try to collect them all that haven't made it to finance yet? Like, I just don't know how accurate that type of projecting the end of the year can be.
I think whenever we're discussing a budget, we need to have as close to actual as possible. So 4/30, that's almost 2 months ago. So I don't know if, and I know that you're saying that this hasn't been done in the past, you've provided us through
Yeah,
4/30, but I think moving forward, we need as close to actual as possible so we don't have to have this discussion ever again. Is that fair?
I know in the past, we've received numerous revisions coming up to it because it kept being updated. So to say that they were at 4:30, maybe they were, but when this is dated 5/31 and the numbers are 4:30,
I think it's fair, and clarify, tell me if I'm wrong. The key here is, although maybe it's not been consistent with the past, is having a reconcile through May would have at least got us to a point that we're never gonna have a reconcile through the whole year in order
Yeah,
to meet the
absolutely.
deadline for the budget. So it's really just a matter of a day that they need to tie those numbers down, and then potentially at the same time, to be able to go through and say, okay, by the way, this is some of the big ticket items we have remaining for the month of June, and this is what, assuming everything remains consistent with budget, this is where we're gonna be. But yet, you're still only gonna have hard numbers through May.
Right,
So, but we're always gonna miss a month.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think for the sake of expediency here, it's just best to punt and get the revised numbers for tomorrow.
Okay.
I just think it'll clarify a lot of stuff so we don't have to spend a lot of time on this issue.
Okay.
Can I just make one suggestion? There's one item on this budget that we have no control over, and that is not asking for an increase. And there are people here tonight, can we at least do the schools so we can get them, so they don't have to come back tomorrow?
No, if we're gonna not do the budget till tomorrow, I mean, we should do the whole budget tomorrow.
Either way, you have to, you guys have to ratify tomorrow. You guys can approve the budget for the school now, today, contingent upon ratification tomorrow.
So just a question, if,
But it's not on our agenda today.
But yeah, it's for tomorrow. That's what I'm saying. You approve the school budget contingent upon ratification of the school contract tomorrow. That's up to you and the solicitor.
Well, I was more thinking that we would just approve, we would just make a motion to approve, because obviously the budget committee and the administrator's budget are identical, so we would just approve one. It wouldn't be approving the budget, but then tomorrow we can come back, but at least they wouldn't have to
Yeah.
be here.
Yeah.
so if he's asking for, because actually, why is it coming back? Something that says it has to be, or how do you get that? He's asking for 32.7. They're saying no, 32.2. And it was supposed to be the same as last year. At 30.6.
Can I make one more point about just not having numbers through May? I'm sorry to belabor this, but, I mean, specifically, and I know that it's maybe not big dollars in comparison to some of the other items, but for instance, on the general fund revenue, looking at the fees municipal court. So each department administrator and budget committee are proposing $60,000 in municipal court fees, right? That would be our revenue. However, what we're seeing historically, right, in 2024, the revenue adopted budget rather was 75,000. Our actual amount was only 54. Adopted budget for 2025 is 52,000 and change. Our actual amount as of 4/30 was 34,900 and change. So are we saying that over the next 2 months, May and June, should equate to roughly 52,000? And then how, in my mind, can I justify 60,000? So without understanding as close to actual as possible, it's very hard for me to justify a $7,700 net change when I don't understand what the actual amount was for 2025.
So the actual amount as of 10 months is the 34.9,
I
right?
understand.
So, I mean, we can show you one more month's worth, but we won't receive we receive municipal court fees as a deposit from the police department 1 month at a time.
Right.
So I won't have June's numbers for you until the year's over, so I can only give you 1 more month. And honestly, if I'm looking at this, looking at 34 million, 34,000, it looks like that line might end up being a little short compared to what it was budgeted for.
Right. So
And
then
it's
how
been
can I
trending
justify
down.
60,000 then?
No,
The answer answer we were given, the reason we left it at 60,000 was because we were told operationally the municipal court would have a change next year. So
Okay.
that's a really small issue, but that's why we left it at 60.
Okay.
We knew that the number this year probably wouldn't come in at that budgeted amount. And then the only thing I just wanted to comment, if, I'm hoping you guys do postpone. I just hope the next meeting we can all look at the same numbers on the spreadsheet, what you guys have. Maybe there can be printed copies for the audience, but these are big math numbers issues, you know, just for this to get passed through is, to me, it's another $700,000 calculation that, I understand there might be some cell mappings, but for it to get through onto the screen is kind of a red flag for me. So I just would hope that we can all, as budget committee members, audience, town council members, administration, all look at the same numbers and pass the same budget.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike, well, can you, or Doug, can you just explain on the school budget why you took out the capital? Why your number is it because of the surplus or?
Yeah, so I differed a little bit on this one. But then the rest of the committee, I thought maybe we should look to explore at least the ride reimbursement, since that does have a amount back from the state. But the budget committee decided to follow the administrator's recommendation, who didn't want to give the schools capital. The surplus can be used for capital projects. And so, while I differed in that regard, the budget committee decided to keep moving forward, and, you know, I obviously support the budget committee. So, so that was the reason why that the surplus could be used to either fund school operations or capital. And we did have Tony reach out to the state to find out on that as well. So
And that's the surplus of the
1.4 and change.
That
Yeah,
one, okay.
yeah. Assuming that's still the amount we're getting.
All right, thoughts? Yeah. Yeah, you want to close the public hearing?
Anyone else want to talk?
Anyone else want to speak in the public hearing? Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, Madam President, if you're going to continue the matter tomorrow, you might want to leave the public hearing open
Leave it open? All right.
and continue it to tomorrow, along with the budget, in case somebody has something to say.
So it's a
Okay.
motion to continue?
Right, if you're going to continue this matter to tomorrow, I would ask you to continue 3A, 4, and obviously 5, all till tomorrow. If that's your desire.
I'll start with the public hearing. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing. I don't know if this is a solution or help, but what if you just looked at past numbers from April to April? So you're still going to get your 12-month period in. Yeah, the numbers won't jive completely, but it might still accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And I understand where you're coming from, and I hope you do postpone it, but you still got a 12-month period. It will incorporate both May and June of every prior year, and I don't know if that's any help, but
Thank
because we
you.
got all that data. You know, so whatever that's worth.
All right, anyone else want to get up? Yeah. It's all right.
So I know saying the budget can be a lengthy process once you guys get into it. I don't know, since you're trying to do it now in one day, if there's a future date scheduled, but you may want to think to add another day just in case you do run into 12 o'clock at night type deal.
Well, we have Thursday, right?
So I wasn't
So
sure
we-
if you did or not.
Yeah, so we have Thursday,
Okay, perfect.
but that's to set the tax rate, right?
Yes, Madam President, if you don't finish tomorrow, you can make a motion to continue it till Thursday tomorrow. You could also notify the clerk to post for Thursday as well. Post all these matters for Thursday as well, so you'll be covered for Thursday. So you got
Okay.
2 ways to get there. You could continue this from day to day to day just by a motion.
Okay.
That's
Or
the easiest,
you-
right?
Well,
Well,
I
it's
think since
probably
we
the-
know now that you're gonna probably need Thursday, you might as well amend Thursday's calendar to add these 3 items. So now you have them tomorrow, and you have them again on Thursday, and the public is well aware of the possibility if you don't get done tomorrow. Instead of, you know, you're talking about the most serious vote you're taking, you don't want to really continue it by motion if you can post it in advance. That's my,
We can't finalize the budget and set the rates in the same meeting. There has to be a time period between when you finalize the budget and you set the rates. There needs to be time.
well, then we might need another date.
So now, we're gonna have a special meeting on Monday, as long as it's by the end of the fiscal year, correct?
Correct.
So we could set the rates on Monday? Okay, so I think we'd be all set, because we have today, tomorrow, Thursday, and then we're setting a special meeting for Monday. Okay. That would work, right?
I would just, again, before you leave tonight, direct the clerk to make sure she understands if that's okay, to get Thursday's agenda amended, and I guess move, make sure Monday's agenda includes setting the tax rate. And then you're covered, theoretically, you're covered. Or which way, if for some reason you're able to, you're not gonna, the idea of you getting it done tomorrow probably is unlikely. That's not my experience.
Yeah, we sometimes have finished the operating, but then we still have the enterprises for the next day, yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, anyone else want to speak before we table?
Kim, I just want to mention that there is a planning board meeting on Thursday at 7. We were scheduled a meeting here at 6. Just letting you know.
Yeah, just a question, is there an option for the planning board to move their meeting? We have enough time that they could, for the planning board? Yeah, we'll work on that and get the planning board moved to a different location and set them up for teams.
Okay,
Because obviously, 6 to 7 isn't going to help you.
yeah, okay. Okay. Anyone else want to speak in public hearing? Anyone else? Okay. Wanna make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for the fiscal year 2025, 2026 budget until a date certain of June 24th, 6:45 PM.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Mr. Christopherow.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Punchak.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And now we're going to make a motion to table,
I would make a motion to continue item number 4 and 5 on the agenda until tomorrow, 6:45.
okay.
I'll make a motion to continue or table items 4 and 5 on the June 23rd agenda until date certain of June 24th at 6:45 PM.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so we're not gonna do the schools?
Can we make this motion and then come back in and do that one, or?
Can we do the schools first tomorrow?
It doesn't do them any good.
Well, they.
I guess if you want to handle the schools, withdraw these motions. The public hearing on the budget's been continued. Hold off on voting on items 4 and 5. Handle the schools on the item 4, then move to continue. Right now, you have not officially continued item 4 and 5 yet. There's only been a motion and a second. Withdraw the motion, withdraw the second, handle the school if that's your choice, then move to continue those items what's left of those items till tomorrow.
Yeah, let's just do it all tomorrow.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second? Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Mr. Christopherow.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Punchak.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Do we have to move anything for Thursday, or are we good for now?
Well, I think Thursday we agreed that these same 3 items will be on Thursday's amended agenda. And whatever's, if anything gets resolved to conclusion tomorrow, they can be stricken on Thursday. Does that make sense? If the public hearing is concluded tomorrow, then you won't have it again on, if you get into deliberations on the budget, that'll be the end of the public hearing. But right now, we should, so we meet the posting deadlines, post them.
So tape, which will also put it on Thursday.
Yes, I'd put all three items on Thursday, add them to the amended agenda. Yep, until we know the public hearing is closed, I would put it on there.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to include all 3 items on Thursday's agenda also?
We need a motion for that?
Yeah.
No,
No? Just
you're the
just
president,
include
you
it?
can direct it to amend the
Okay, so
agenda.
if we can just include those 3 items on Thursday's agenda also.
Only in an attempt to try to streamline this, could we do sewer and water tonight? Like,
We sent Bill home because we weren't, yeah.
All right.
All right, so now we're just adjourning, right?
That's it, you've continued the 3 items, was there a second on the 4 and 5?
Yes.
So, that's it, and you directed the clerk to add the 3 items for Thursday's meeting. I think that's it, that's it.
Okay, so we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.